Hello, welcome back to ADK Theory. We have another episode of Talonmarks and Inkstains, and today me and Dallin are joined by Comment Reader from the channel Period.
Hello.
So, yeah, do you want to introduce yourself?
Oh, yeah, sure. Hello, I'm Comet Reader. I run the channel Period Nerd, and it's great to be on here.
Hey,
Oh, I'm Twilight or Dallin from 80K.
yeah,
Period.
Amos or Glacier, I guess. Either one works. Um, okay, and so for the day, the first topic we're going to be discussing is any how likely and in what way do you think an alliance between Thorn and Glory would work out?
Hmm. This has been a topic on my mind for quite some time.
Yeah, same.
I think it's plausible within the 20 or 5010s decade.
Yeah,
I,
because there's
I
been
think yeah.
with the prison with the Thorn taking the prisoners, and then there's also they're both kind of emerging as powers after a lot of internal schisms. Like Thorn has the Vulture and his gangs, and then Glory has the Nightwing nationalists.
Yeah. I,
But
I do think
yeah,
yeah, I do think because both kingdoms are still relatively unstable. I mean, I think the Rainforest Kingdom is probably in a better off position than
yeah,
Kingdom of Sand, but yeah, I do think that yeah, we have seen them sort of have some ties, and they are the two queens are pretty similar. But I would imagine they would probably send aid to strengthen each other's kingdoms in the coming years, particularly more so on Thorn's side, I believe, because there's a lot of instability there.
yeah. Like Glory would be sending more like supplies and stuff, and then I think Thorn would send some of her more experienced generals to the Rainforest Kingdom so that they can like
Yeah.
fight the troops.
I also think Thorn might, or rather, both the kingdoms might have some sort of trade agreement because the rainforest is sort of an environment that's kind of lacking in certain natural resources, and the Rainwings are not very um, high up on the developmental technology scale.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I don't, yeah. What do you have to say?
I don't know. I think with Glory's leadership and just the seemingly capacity they've already had for expansion within the rainforest, I think there is some evidence to possibly suggest, especially if they do manage to integrate Nightwings into their society and there's not some sort of independence movement, which with the various factors and the victory over Pintala, thanks in part to the Rainforest Kingdom, I think there is a possibility at the least that the true tribes have a successful chance of integrating. And if that is the case, then the Rainforest Kingdom has possibly the chance to become the most successfully intellectual kingdom inferior. Because if you have the Nightwing's already previous capacity for brain power and the Rainwing's capacity for brute knowledge and whatever else, like they have an
Yeah,
incredible, at least seemingly incredible agricultural system. Like they're able to farm all kinds of fruits or just find them wherever they need to in the
I mean,
rainforest. They've been able to sustain their population for basically hundreds of years without a sustained agricultural system. If they set up a sustained agricultural system, they're like that is going to be some crazy food output right there. Because once they actually get into a relatively organized society, which they're already starting it to do that, then that is a very, very, very dangerous kingdom you have on your hands.
I do
yeah,
think.
but yeah.
Sorry, were you? Oh, sorry. I was gonna say I do think. I don't think that. I do think farming could be possible, but as of right now, I don't. I think that most of the fruit that they find are wild because when you look at the kind of
Oh no, they
environment,
are. They are
I think
absolutely
it's
wild.
yeah, it's kind of hard to grow crops in the tropical environment. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of naturally occurring food. That is also another plus side. But yeah, I think that's probably going to spread to the Kingdom of Sand as well, because like through trade, and that's probably going to create some interesting results. And when you said about the Nightwings integrating with the Rainwings, I do think, for me, I really can't come to a consensus. I feel like it really could go either way. Like
it all just
they
depends
could
on how Glory
integrate.
handles it.
Yeah, and depending on like what, because if the Nightwing sees success and their lives improve in the coming years, they're most likely going to support Glory
Yeah. And
and lose popularity. But if not, if it takes a
Mhm.
little longer, then there could be some repercussions for that. But
Right.
it feels like a whole other topic for discussion another time. But
yeah.
Mhm.
And and then the other thing is that the rainforest might be able to domesticate some of their fruits and maybe start like orchards or something of that kind of thing. But Thorn has I think you might have mentioned this in your video, but she has a lot of farms in the north, and then she also has along the Five-Toe River potential for a very large textile industry, which I believe could help the rainforest in the position that they're in, because they're still trying to modernize, and so some of that industrial power from the sandwings might be able to help them out.
100%, yes.
Yeah.
Mm. Oh no. I think the Sandwich Kingdom does face a lot of issues, namely the fact, and okay, I'm gonna be real here. I love Thorn. Thorn is absolutely, absolutely amazing. However, she did run a mafia gang in a criminal city for literal decades.
She ran organized crime.
She ran
Well, I
organized
think
crime.
people always say that. Everyone always says that she was a criminal.
Yeah.
Being criminal, but we really don't really have any. I mean, was it really an
No,
organized?
she absolutely was a criminal.
We don't see. Well, we do see
We
her
don't.
kill someone.
What did she do?
We
Because
see her
really,
kill people to stand her place.
We saw her kill.
We see evidence, and but well, we never see it actually.
because
We
really,
never
because
see evidence.
But
during
we
the
do
current,
see, but they do say several times they're a crime gang.
right, but that
Which
also
means they
could
do
just be a
stuff
narrative
that
pushed
is
by Burns' faction
illicit.
because
Yeah. Also,
it was within
No,
her
Thorne
territory. I
herself
believe.
says she runs a crime gang.
so
They're a
she didn't.
benevolent crime gang, sure, but they are still ultimately a crime gang.
I don't remember that.
I disagree
My
with
bad.
you, Dallin, because we have the fact that we never. So we know they took over the Scorpion Den, but we also know that under its successors, it was terrible, and they were. I feel like they were just more of the government, like and the outlaws are like they were police people,
Or
and
more,
they're
like
setting
vigilantes.
up places where dragonettes can get food and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
When we don't see that, we see Thorn kill one Nightwing. That is the only crime they have to their name.
Ah,
Yeah,
That is the only confirmed crime they have to their name.
that we see.
Yeah, that is true.
And
There could be others, but we don't really know for sure. I mean, also
yeah,
remember they could be considered criminals under Burns' territory, which I believe the Scorpion Den might have been in, because I think it's within a short flying distance to the stronghold, I believe, and
Yeah.
Thorn and Burn seem to be enemies, so it would make sense for Burn to just kind of categorize her that way. Well, which is, I guess, it's substantially less objectively a crime group than the Talons of Power, which I think also was a terrorist
and we
organization.
Yeah, you could definitely classify.
and we also see the Thorns become like they're also the firefighters because they put out that fire at the orphanage.
Yeah, they're basically just
Yeah,
all sorts of law enforcement protection,
vigilantes.
emergency services.
Yeah.
Vigilantes, yes.
Yeah.
I still think that just with the reputation, Thorn loses credibility in the eyes of the people, especially because she was selected by a prophecy.
She wasn't selected by a prophecy. She was
to the people. She was selected by a prophecy.
I guess. Well, I mean, Well, she's very popular in
She
areas.
touched amulet. Blister touch amulet. Blister dust. That's how Thorn became Queen Dale, and then Blaze didn't want to become queen. She just wanted a light. She didn't want to be queen. Blaze
Following the guidelines of
she just wanted
the prophecy.
Okay, I guess that is.
Well, the Eye of Onyx
Actually, if you look at the prophecy, it says that of 3 sisters, who Blister, Blaze, and Born, one will rise above the others. Thorn wasn't one of those sisters, so therefore that can't be going with the prophecy.
Okay, but in the eyes of the common folk who just know about the prophecy was about which queen will win. Guess who won? Thorn.
Okay.
Well, I do think she's probably more
she's
popular
a
in some areas than others,
prophesized
though.
queen to lead the Sand Wing. How does that lose her credibility?
I think it gives her more credibility, honestly.
Because of what happened with the Nightwings afterward. When everyone found out it was revealed that the Nightwings actually have no power.
That is fair, but it also doesn't explain the Eye of Onyx, which is separate from the prophecy and has historically been known to show which queens are worthy of the throne. I think.
Yeah.
Okay, that part gives her credibility.
Also, I guess just because she's had also experience, even though she's categorized as like organized criminal or whatever, her governing experience in the Scorpion Den also gives her credibility because she has a record as well, and as she attempts to take that nationally, some might not like that at all, and some might love it. It really depends on which faction and which area.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, is that all we have to talk about it? Do you have anything to add?
Well, I guess I'm thinking a hypothetical, because this was about an alliance between Glory and Thorn, right? So the way I see it, the main sort of action being taken, I think, would be more so Glory reaching out and offering soldiers and supplies to help take out Vulture, because Vulture is pretty much the only the major obstacle in the way of long-term stability. I think that there will be an offensive launched on the Scorpion Den, take it back, whether it's starved out or whether there are internal revolts. But I think that Glory is probably going to aid that.
Yeah. Also, would she still be going up against Vulture, or would she be going up against whoever was Vulture's second in command? Because did Vulture get his brains fried by Darkstalker?
Well, that is an interesting point, actually. I actually had not thought about that. I don't think we really know for sure, but but generally, I mean, it's also the organization in general. So even if Vulture is like mentally incapacitated by Darkstalker or whatever, there are also, regardless of the outcome of that, there is still the organization itself that is occupying the Scorpion Den. That is an interesting point that you brought up.
Yeah. So, okay. Our next topic will be just the Sea Wings and what's going on there, and if they can rebuild, and if they will become stable.
That is. Sea Wings are a mess. Let me just say it.
Yeah.
Especially like the royal family. It's just
especially the royal family. Yeah, because. Yeah.
I mean, there's also besides.
Yeah, you go.
Okay, all right. There's a lot of corruption, with Coral and Blister, and just targeting of censorship of any opposing views, and we see how Coral's willing to use violence to kind of snuff out any vocal opposition, vocal or action, any sort of opposition. It's just a nightmare, and she's kind of more not really totalitarian, but she's more authoritarian and more brutal than people really see and notice.
Yeah, like most, if not all, of the books are written by Coral.
That is also true. And I think Yeah, that's
Yeah.
spot on.
Yeah.
She
Also-
has control over all information in her kingdom, which
Plus the fact she has like
not
32
necessarily
sons.
always a good thing.
She has like 20. I'm pretty sure 20 sons. And also the
Not
thing
just
is,
30.
so
I don't know.
people
That's a
are
lot.
wondering if Tsunami, an enemy, or Arklet will take the throne. But there's 20
think-
sons, and I imagine that Orca had brothers, so one of those could just get married and try to make a play for the throne. And if we have a bunch of the different brothers, the older brothers try and make a play for the throne, and then Anemone or Tsunami or Arklet wants the throne, we might just have like a whole political crisis of who's going to take the throne, because technically the older brothers and their wives would, by a line of succession, have a claim to the throne, but they weren't born female. So would they have a play for the throne? Like, would their wives be excluded from the line of succession? That's the whole thing. We could have a big crisis over that, potentially.
I think just the fact that there are so many of them, a lot of them are going to want to make a play for the throne. And
yeah,
what I think will happen is there could be, we've already seen this happen. Like even Turtle thought to himself, he could be king potentially. The idea in principle, and I think we could see more princes start to think that and believe that. And because I don't think Tsunami wants to be queen anymore. Anemone,
I don't know.
Anemone's a bit iffy, but if she does, the kingdom is doomed. Arklet, honestly, maybe, but I don't know. She's too young to really tell. But if none of them do, you're gonna have to either have allow males to be viable for the throne, or the royal family is gonna sort of shift through marriage, and it may cause maybe a different family may end up coming to power.
Yeah, that's the
Right.
yeah, and
Which hopefully that doesn't happen, because the last time a new family tried to come to power, not good things happened.
what happened?
The Mudwing.
Succession
Yeah.
crisis. I think I don't.
Mudwing succession
I've been meaning
crisis.
to do a bit more research into that. I actually have been doing more research into that. I haven't though. But
Okay. Well, I don't know too much about it. I just know it was about new families trying to take over.
Another thing about the Sea Wings is also like anytime anything remotely bad happens in the kingdom, the entire kingdom is thrown into disarray and they're extremely vulnerable.
Yeah.
Take the Royal Massacre. I mean, that was a national tragedy, but they were currently in the midst of a border dispute with the Skywings. They had to give up all of their claims. They had to basically just be reduced. And the same thing happened after the bombing of the Summer Palace. They basically all the front lines collapsed. They retreated under the Deep Palace, and they're always in a very vulnerable position. And I think it's not really a sustainable unless there's long-term.
Yeah, because
peace.
It seems like, from what we've been shown, the upper echelons, like the royal family and their closest people, are the ones that are like directly controlling most of the affairs. And so whenever something happens to them, the entire kingdom is just thrown into anarchy because nobody knows what to do because they aren't receiving orders anymore.
It's very centralized, and it's also very disorderly especially under Coral's reign.
So sometimes very centralized things can be a very good thing because quick decisions are made. But when that centralized government is taken out or believed to be taken out, everything just falls apart. Yeah.
It's like
and
like one light goes out, they all go out.
And we also have the thing where we know they are farming some underwater plants and some fishes, but we don't know how much of an agricultural system they actually have, and we also don't know.
I mean, we can kind of tell that they at least have pretty advanced because we know they have it in place, and the only food we've ever seen, I think, anyone really eat is like seafood stuff like that.
Yeah, and also how much like do the sea wings like actually inhabit? Because we know they live in. We know the.
I think it's just the Bay Area.
Is it just the Bay of a Thousand?
I'm pretty sure it's just the Bay Area.
Okay, and we also we know that Listor was able to hide out on one of the islands for like the whole war, And so the question is, how many of the islands are like really secretive? Like, is it potentially that seaing different seaing villages on some of the islands? Oh, sorry, we have a
lawnmower.
we have a lawnmower.
We'll just yeah.
Yeah.
That is a good point.
skip it
I
and
do
then-
think most of the major islands are probably inhabited by villages. I think
Yeah.
there are probably a bunch of smaller ones that aren't really seen on the maps,
Yeah,
but
because
those are probably
we
some
do
of the
see
more
that they were just
secretive.
like small little rock towns. But my question is, on some of the smaller islands that become inhabited, how likely is the chance that sometimes they just get left without any messages for a bunch of years? Because we know that Fathom and Indigo were able to stay on an island for however long it was until Peril died, so that they could send their children to go and remix in with the main populace. And so my question is, how many of these islands never get checked up on, and then there's just a bunch of communities that have been left there by the government, and nobody really remembers that they're there?
That is a good point.
Hmm.
I would say for any other kingdom, I would say that's probably happened a decent number of times. But also the Sea
Yeah.
Wings also can easily transport themselves and resources through water because their whole gimmick
Oh yeah,
is
the
that they're all
currents.
swimmers. But so I think access between the islands may be relatively easy, but it might not necessarily be super easy because also
Yeah.
they could be neglected by the government. They could be forgotten about as
I
well.
mean,
So
currents
that
and stuff
is
could also play a
plausible.
factor.
Yeah. Oh, and also the other big thing is they've lost their above the water palace, and it
We lost two of
seems
them.
like they have just completely lost their place on the international stage after that. I mean, we see them at the end of book 5. We see them go to Jade Mountain Academy, Coral, and some of the other Sea Wings. And then we see them at the end of book 15. Is that the only times we have seen Sea
They're in book
Wings that
9.
aren't POV characters, or like from Jade Mountain Academy after the? Because
Briefly in book 9, actually, towards the end.
yeah, and I don't think.
But they're underwater, so they're kind of still in that
Yeah.
retreat.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
they've
it
definitely
seems
fallen
like.
off the national stage.
Yeah, and it also feels like their main source of prestige for the above water, the above ground people was their above water palace. But after that got destroyed, it feels like they kind of lost all of that, and they weren't able to export or import goods because yeah, but that's what
I
it feels
think
like at least.
Right.
they could, in theory, build another one, but in the short term right now, I think they're just kind of too weak on many
Yeah.
levels to do so. But I think they probably, besides the vast amount of seafood, a lot of things they probably rely on imports, which would be harder to get now, which
Mhm.
could cause potential recessions, shortages,
Yeah.
inflation, maybe even famines for certain types of diets.
Yeah. Because yeah. And also that the mainest problem of this is that Queen Coral can't sell her scrolls to anyone. That's the biggest
True.
tragedy.
That's the biggest tragedy. We gotta think about the scrolls, guys.
Yeah.
But this would also mean that she doesn't have a monopoly or near monopoly on information, and we could see
because
independent
she isn't
other sources emerge.
exporting or importing things. And there's also the potential of like a black market trade opening up to get those goods to the Sea Kingdom that the Sea Kingdom can't get themselves. And so now there's the possibility for other scrolls and other foods and ideas to get through, which Coral had been stopping under her reign.
Yeah, if they do devolve into anarchy, yeah, you could definitely see a black market. You could definitely see like a Sea Wing version of the Talons of Power.
Yeah.
Probably not as radical.
Yeah, probably not Spanish. Yeah. Dan, do you have anything to add to this? Okay. Oh,
This is not a topic I researched a whole lot on.
okay. Okay, so the next topic is which one of the Darkstalker era queens was like the best?
Oh,
Anaconda
Well, I
all the way.
mean-
Okay. We only know about some of them actually.
yeah, we
yeah,
don't know
we-
about all the queens. We don't know.
What do we know about
really only know
Carmine?
about
What do we know about Carmine
nothing,
or Scorpion?
like literally nothing.
Oh wait, no, we have
What
What do we have on Carmine?
we have a letter she wrote.
Oh, really? Is
to
that in the
Peril.
Guide to the Dragon?
Yeah,
Oh.
it was you can't keep these sort of things secret, and referring to the massacre. And also, I'll keep it secret, but you gotta send us a bunch of pearls and get off our coast. That was
Oh, that is true. They were.
Oh, that's right. That's
It
right.
was the border dispute. Right. So
Yeah. Okay.
I
So
guess.
which
Huh.
sounds a quick way short. Okay. Yeah. You go first, I guess.
All right. So, are we gonna like go through each of them, or should we just each state our minds on our favorite?
Not gonna lie, I don't remember the names of each of them. Give me a quick second.
Yeah, I only know some of them. I think
you
I think I can think of the names, but yeah, like some of them, like the Sandwing Queen, and the Mudwing Queen, we know nothing about, so we
Yeah.
can't really say much to that.
But yeah, we really
I
know
think-
about Kingdom of the Sea, Night Kingdom, a little bit of Rainforest Kingdom, and the Sandwing Kingdom.
Yeah.
And we have like
We have the
And the
Ice
Ice
Wing,
Wing.
and we have
There was
the
also
Ice
this
Wing,
Diamond.
Sandwing.
was there queens on Pentala?
Yes,
Yeah,
because
this was there were only the Beetle Wings and the Leaf Wings, I believe. This is before Clear Sight
yeah, there were only
arrived.
we don't really know, I guess.
We don't know. I don't think we know anything, frankly. But
Yeah.
if I were to say who I believe the best queen during that era was, I would have to say Anaconda. I mean,
Okay.
before Glory, the kingdom, the Rainforest Kingdom was at its height. It was in a golden age. It was very militarized and very strong. And I think
Mm-hmm.
the fact that there was also they had Venom assassins, which was a
That's
little bit
actually, like,
questionable.
Yeah,
A militarized Rainforest Kingdom is the craziest thing.
yeah, they
It is,
literally
but
they did have that
prevented
secret
wars
assassin.
because also no kingdom was probably until the Skywings a little bit later down the line were willing to go to war with the Rainwings because they were all afraid of them.
Yeah,
No,
like we had this mentioned during the massacre. Everyone was afraid of the Mudwings for some reason, but mainly the Rainwings. Yeah.
I'm not sure if we know who started the war between the Skywings and Rainwings. I think there was probably a Cold War before and growing tensions, but
Yeah.
we know that at the end the Rainwings did suffer defeats, and that ultimately led to backlash, I think. And then we all know what happened with, Jacaranda screwing over the kingdom.
Yeah.
Right.
Python going radically in the other direction, being like a warhawk. But
Yeah.
and that was start of the downfall. But yeah, I would say Anaconda, things were probably really good. Between Anaconda and Glory, I'm not sure who would be better, honestly. Anaconda's probably more legendary.
I'd say probably Glory is ultimately the better one, just the little information we have. Because while Anaconda did rapidly militarize, I think Glory is just overall a better diplomat than Anaconda was, which I think is also an important skill to have as a leader. I mean, Anaconda just used threats and whatnot, and Glory actually uses diplomatic.
I mean,
skill.
Glory is also pretty prone to, verbally snapping, but she is working on that. We've seen progress on that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. Who is yours? I have mine. Which if you haven't picked yours yet, I will go.
You can pick yours. I'm still
Okay, so
between two.
This is mine, and it's not controversial. Okay, so mine is Queen Scorpion because, well, yes, Anaconda was in charge of the Rainforest Kingdom. It seems like it was already militarized before that. Well, in Queen Scorpion's case, she was able to get a lot of gold from the Ice Wings and the Night Wings because she was allowing them to fight on her land, and so she was able to get a bunch of gold from that in their deal. And it's also, I think it might be outright said or just heavily implied that she was the one that built the the Sandwing Treasury, like most of the gold in the Sandwing Treasury came into it during her reign, and also she was seemingly able to keep a pretty good grip on the Sandwing Kingdom, even though there was a war going on between its two neighbors inside of it.
That's
And
the problem, I think. The fact that she
it
allowed them
also
on her
seems
land.
we don't it isn't ever mentioned in the books, and so I think that I can say this with a bit of confidence, is that she was able to keep a peaceful relationship between her and the Skyward Kingdom, and under her reign, not a lot of skirmishes over the Five Tail River region broke out, which is that is my elevator pitch for why Queen Scorpion is the best of the queens.
I would actually agree with you on that. I think Queen Scorpion was a very well. I do think letting a war happen in your territory is maybe not the best move, but I also
Definitely
think
not.
wars in Feria work a little bit different than they do in medieval England or something like that. I think they work more so how Mesoamerican battles were fought out. Is that in Mesoamerica, like back in way, way old days, for colonization and whatnot, they didn't exactly have wars so much. They were more so displays of power. Like you would have skirmishes, 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 but they weren't necessarily like for blood and glory and whatever. They were more for show.
Except the ice cream store that we have the same succession. That's a whole.
I mean, also,
Yeah.
yeah, I guess they weren't really aiming to take territory because they were really just fighting. There was really just tensions regardless that were separate from territory. But I guess
Yeah.
the
Like-
Ice Wings did want to attempt an invasion of the night of
Yeah.
an amphibious landing on the northern beach, but I don't think that ever happened. But
Yeah. No,
everything else you
wait,
said about Scorpion, I would agree with. I mean, she probably did make the kingdom very rich, but
yeah.
the whole thing with like the war on her land, that's the only part
Yeah,
that I think
that's a bit.
Okay.
I think my
everything else, though,
actual
I agree with
best.
other things. The treasury is good.
Mhm.
The holding together the kingdom during times like that is a literal war all around your borders is good. And
and
possibly maintaining good relations with Skywings. That's all good.
Yeah.
I think it's all very interesting, but I do believe that my legitimately favorite queen from Darkstalkers era might actually be. I'm actually kind of having a difficult time deciding. I don't know if we had
It's gonna
any
be
like
hard.
super good queens, honestly. I might say Anaconda actually. As much as Anaconda has her flaws, she's probably the most successful in that her kingdom didn't disappear, have a coup. The Icewings actually did fine after the Icewing War. I mean, Queen Diamond was an awful queen.
Diamond was a psychopath.
No.
Yeah,
I know that
Diamond
she
and
was an awful
Vigilance are
queen,
out
but
of the
like
question.
they're out of the question here.
Sweets don't like her nowadays. We all view her as a psycho who was dumb too.
No. I'm not saying that she's intelligent by any means. I'm just saying that.
Okay, that's a hot take. Also, so before we move on, my counterpoint to both of your things is that, well, some of the Sandwings may die. That's a risk that I'm willing to take to increase their treasury. Okay, that's my counterpoint.
That's a terrible
Well, on top of that, it's also the fact that they're basically occupying foreign land, and that's not really good because it's like.
We do.
Well, then again, we don't exactly know how the wars worked in this era. They could have just been skirmishes.
Yeah.
If that were true, then it's more understandable. But if it, I think that is kind of what this war was like, since the two don't really border each other, and there was no incentive.
I really wish we got a Darkstalker graphic novel because then
there is going to be one.
I know there's going to be one, but I wish that we had one right now because we'd probably see some kind of map detailing like battle plans because they talk about it in the book a ton.
I think there might have been, and I am not 100% sure, so I might just be lying. But I'm pretty sure there is like an Icewing camp in the Sandwing Kingdom. Like I feel like we have that mentioned.
Yeah. There's a camp. I think there's several camps mentioned
Yeah.
that are in the desert.
So
Yeah, I think those two kingdoms have probably had good relations throughout like thousands of years. Honestly, especially, I feel like we always see those two. They have some sort of agreement or good relation. I wouldn't say an alliance, but you know, Glacier getting involved with the Salmon War succession all the way back. You also had. I feel like they've always been sort of cooperating, even though probably before that they probably were closer to the Nightwings. They share some cultural aspects, but I think they kind of shifted towards the Ice Wings, especially after the Nightwings disappeared in quotes.
Yeah, they. I forgot. Abracadabra, I'm gonna disappear, and then they just pop out of existence. That's yeah. Also, how did they fit the entire the entire peninsula of Nightwings on a tiny island?
They probably didn't. I'm guessing a lot of them died along the way, or some of them maybe
Yeah.
some groups
dispersed across the continent.
Some
Because I
other
highly
groups
doubt
maybe
they
settled. Some groups settled probably in other locations, like small groups that are probably been mostly unseen. We don't know that. That could be a thing.
Yeah.
But
Okay, and then
also
I'll
on the island, a lot of people died from famine.
normal people, Okay. Our last probably topic is which one of the current day tribes? I think we talked about which one would most likely be have a civil war. Which one of them is the most stable? Like which tribe in the modern day thing is the most stable out of all of 10, 9, 10 or 9 kingdoms? Which one, 8 or 9 kingdoms is the most stable?
So I can just preface something with saying I actually have not finished Arc 3 yet, so I can't speak too much to the Pantalan tribes. Although I did get a couple spoilers from Book 14, so I do think I would have said the Ice Wings, but after getting a bit of spoilers and some stuff that happens politically within that kingdom, I would say no.
Yes,
I would say the Sky Wings are probably the most stable, and they've probably been stable pretty consistently.
Yeah. I think I know I'm between the Skywings and the Mudwings, because the thing with the Mudwings is we don't know a lot about the Mudwings, but we also know that the Skywings are doing pretty well off, and so
I mean, yeah, they are kind of at the tail end of a short civil war, but they're pretty much fine, I think, in comparison to other wars.
Yeah, well, the Civil War was mainly just like nobody knew what happened to Queen Scarlet, and then they thought she was dead, and then she kind of just appeared one day, and then she was killed. So I don't know how much of a civil war there would be. I think the Skywings are doing pretty well.
Yeah, they are. Overall, yeah, they're doing pretty well.
Is that the Mudwings, I feel like we've always seen them in a period, like we do have that they had that one succession crisis a few decades or centuries back or whatever. But I feel like the Mudwings have always been the most stable because we don't have, we know that in the modern day, they seem to be doing fine. And in past times, they were doing really, really good, which made the Sea Wings which made them kind of scary. And I feel like the Sky Wings we've seen more of like Skywing culture and stuff, and we've seen that they have big displays that kind of unite the kingdom. So I feel like it's Mudwings are like tied for most stable. Down. What's your opinion? What's your opinion
about like the whole question as a whole, or the Skywing specifically?
The whole question as a whole. Which one is the most stable?
Okay. At this current point in time, I would agree the Skywings are definitely one of the most stable. Honestly, I would say most of the kingdoms at this point are relatively stable. They just got out of a period of war. No one really wants another one. The threats like Scarlet, Burn, all that, they're all gone. They're all dead. There's not really any particular at least sort of war, at least, to most of the kingdoms, at least not for the next couple decades. But if I had to pick one that is absolutely the most stable right now, I think honestly Kingdom of the Sea. They've had the least political uproar out of all the kingdoms. Because every single other kingdom, except for the Mud Kingdom, every single other kingdom except for the Mud Kingdom has witnessed a major political shift within the past, like, honestly, 2 years. That is crazy. Like, you witnessed the death of a queen in the Ice Kingdom, the death of another queen, the subsequent coup of that queen, then the crowning of another queen in, like, a month. Then you have the Rainforest Kingdom, which is going through a crazy amount of political shifts. You had the Sandwings, who just got out of a war, and the Mud Kingdom was on the front lines of said war, whereas it's stated explicitly several times the Kingdom of the Sea was relatively unharmed during that war because of their location. Most of their cities, most of their stuff, that stuff is secure. Their territories, agricultural implants, they had time during a war for a booming entertainment industry. Yes, that was partly because of the Queen, but that's still crazy. That you have the infrastructure in the middle of a 20-year-long war to be able to support a major publishing industry. That's still a major accomplishment. So I think this Kingdom of the Sea, it's not the best kingdom. It's not my favorite kingdom, but it is the most stable.
You're not saying this ironically.
I'm not saying this ironically. I'm saying this.
I mean, we had a
this
whole
is the most
discussion about
stable.
how the Kingdom of the Sea is like
I need you to
barely stable.
understand something.
It's completely stable though. Think about it. Just think about it. What political
Politically,
shifts has it
no.
gone through?
Economically, sort of.
Economically, it still holds up relatively well.
I mean,
at all.
in the future,
Okay,
it could.
It doesn't really. Okay, hold on. Politically, what do you mean politically doesn't hold?
I meant about what we discussed about the whole royal family.
No, I am, but I want you to restate it.
Okay, so we have the older brother. Okay, the older brother.
Oh my gosh, no! The older brothers are not gonna have a coup. That is a ridiculous statement. Respectfully.
What does you have this?
Okay, first off, Turtle doesn't want the throne. None of the brothers
He's
seem
not
to
an
want the
older
throne.
brother.
We don't know that none of them do.
We have like 5 named brothers, Dallin.
Okay, we have 5 named brothers.
There's 15 others, and none
There's
of them
30.
seem to be like dramatically. Okay,
what evidence do you have them for a coup?
we have evidence of other kingdoms going through coups.
That doesn't mean that.
Okay, also,
I would have to agree with Dallin on that one.
How are they economically stable? They just lost most of their imports and exports because of the shore palace getting destroyed. And we know that Walpole died, and it's implied but not stated that most of the other members of the council were killed in the attack on the shore palace. And it's because
it's implied. You have no evidence to say that all members of the council were killed.
I would say
I'm saying a few.
Probably a decent amount of them.
The only one we have confirmed is Whirlpool, and Coral definitely doesn't need all the members of her council to make decisions.
Yeah, she doesn't, but she likes to. But
that's not not a reason for the Sea Wing Kingdom being politically unstable.
Okay, it seems like she is more concerned with riding bucks and taking care and being a helicopter parent
than taking care of her people.
Yeah, and so she
that's true, but she's still done a better job than most of the other queens, just by the simple fact that she is the oldest and most experienced. Having the council shows
doesn't necessarily mean that you're the best queen. I mean, take a look at Glory, for example. She had absolutely no experience.
We have no recorded. We have. Okay, never mind. Sorry, the Mudwings did have that one battle, and then they also had the Ice Wings doing their whole guerrilla campaign on them the whole time.
And the Mudwings sent troops out of the kingdom to fight. The Sea Wings just stayed at home. It was purely a defensive war for them.
Yeah, but the thing is, the Mudwings could send those troops out without being direct. For most of the war, they had allies on the
So could the Sea Wings. The Sea Wings didn't really even need to participate. They could have just hidden in the water, and literally nothing would have changed.
I know, but
that is kind of what they did in the latter end of the war.
Exactly. That's even what they did. Like
at the latter end, after the attack on the Summer Palace, and I mean, I get your argument, but it feels very contradictory to everything we discussed earlier and how in the near future we could see
Well, I mean,
a bunch
it
of
is
things go wrong.
contradictory.
It is.
Because I don't think that the Sea Wing, there's any evidence at all. Like, there are almost in every single instance of a kingdom existing, there have been brothers. And out of every single instance of a kingdom existing, not all of them, in fact, very few of them, it seems, have had attempted coups by said brothers.
Okay.
That's not the major
The thing is, we were at the best point for them to have a coup by the brothers because it is heavily likely that Orca had brothers.
Okay.
And it doesn't seem like those brothers are the older brothers we have told or mentioned. They would have.
Okay, but we don't know that. We don't know anything about them, so you can't say whether for or for not they will have a coup.
Okay.
That's a baseless
I
argument.
think the idea of a coup by the brothers isn't the largest factor in why I think it's unstable.
Okay, what's the largest factor?
I would say the largest factor is the fact that they are completely vulnerable after losses above shore and undershore. They're probably losing cut off by they're cut off from trade mostly, and pretty much all of their above water settlements are destroyed, and they need to rebuild. And
they suffered the least amount of damage to their economy out of every single tribe except the ones who did not participate.
For now,
like you had direct battles in the Mudwing Kingdom over vital river sources. You had battles every day along the Skywing Kingdom border. The desert's a mess. Criminal hives were allowed to develop. Actually, the Icewing Kingdom suffered unscathed just due to the ice wall. But the Sea Wings have their entire infrastructure, their entire economy based around in a territory no dragon can get to.
Okay. So, my counterpoint is that for all of their history that we have seen, their main thing is that they have been in contact and in trade with the outside world. We see during Darkstalkers era that they both receive the Skywing ambassadors, one of which is the king, the other is their princess, at the massacre, and then they also send Fathom, a prince, out along with their main hero to the.
Well, of course, you're going to have diplomatic missions, but they can absolutely survive as an isolationist kingdom. That's what they did basically after the Albatross Massacre.
I know, but the thing is,
as long as they have the resources,
the above-shore kingdom.
Which they have the resources.
No,
they had. It's proven they had the resources because they survived for 20 years without any trade because everyone hated them.
Dallin, the Sea Wings. They might be currently stable. But it also seems like they're in a period of stagnancy based off of your things. And the Mudwings, which is my counterpoint to the Sea Wings, we don't really see a lot of we do know that there was the battle along the Diamond Spray River. And then there was also the Ice Wings in the northern part, which had their whole secret guerrilla campaign going on. But the thing is, the Mudwings were able to send troops out as far as the sky border with the Sandwings without being attacked, and they've also been really stable. Moorhead, it seems like she's a relatively young queen. It doesn't seem like she's gonna kick the bucket at any time soon. But it also they will be able to rebuild quicker on the international stage than the Sea Wings because they'll be able to accept trades and imports. And the whole thing with the Rain Wings quickly changing and becoming really powerful, they're going to likely emerge as the main superpower, is that they were able to accept trade, and help from the other kingdoms. And it also seems like the other...
Okay, but that's around the entire basis that a nation's power is only dictated by its trade capacity.
It's not. But the Mudwings seem to be more... They are more stable than the Sea Wings in the current position that they are in. The whole thing is that the brothers may or may not do a coup. That is your argument. Well, none of Moorhen's sisters are going to do a coup, and when it is seen that when she's in that dream where she sees that all her siblings are dead around her, and well, yes, Mudwing mothers and parents don't have good connection with their kids. In the thing where it talks about the Mudwing succession crisis, it does seem like the mothers would have the queens would have a really good relationship with the heir, because we have that a lot in the Mudwing succession crisis. It talks about that with their older sister always leaving to go with they don't know, it's their mother.
Right.
But we don't see a dragonette dead in that vision, in that dream. So it doesn't seem like Mohan even has any heirs currently. Well, and she's relatively
Which is a
young.
problem.
I know,
That's a big problem.
the thing is, she is really young, so it's not like.
How old is Morgan? Has it ever said how old she is? I thought she was one of the older queens.
Oh,
Well,
we
she
can
acts
figure
like
out.
a
Hold
younger
on.
queen. What we've seen, like she.
Hang on, yeah, look it up.
Hold on,
I've
I'm
always
looking
thought
up
of
right
Morgan
now.
as like an old grandmother.
No, I've always
I
thought.
thought she was the oldest queen, actually.
Great.
I bet she was
All
like
we
the
know is that
youngest.
she's over 21. That's all we know. It doesn't. There's no specific age.
Okay.
We don't know when she hatched. That's kind of annoying.
That kind of checks out with everything else we know about Morgan, because we don't know anything.
I feel like she's probably
about her.
middle of
Oh
the
wait,
pack.
yeah,
in
she
terms of
has
age.
to be over 20. Yeah, we don't know. We have no idea. But it
Which-
also doesn't seem like.
That's
I've always
relatively.
thought that she's. All right, you go.
So that's relatively. I wouldn't say that's extremely young, because 21 in dragon years, that's not very young. If you're,
No.
that's probably like not quite up there in terms of like being old, but it's not quite middle age. But she still has a while to
Okay,
go.
yeah.
But I wouldn't say she's I wouldn't. If she has no heirs, she probably could have had them, or could have them now.
Because I know
She's probably in the prime age to like.
Yeah. In terms of like
start having
human years,
kids.
I would say she's
In terms
probably
of
in
what
her
we've
like
seen from the other
30s or
queens.
40s.
boy.
Yeah.
Let me look up. I know Flamboyant has it possible. August.
But yeah, I do still stand that the Kingdom of the Sea is at least one of the most stable kingdoms.
In some aspects, I would agree.
I just
guess.
can't see, because you have to think about, you have to change the bureaucracy of so many kingdoms. The Kingdom of the Sand is going to completely change its bureaucracy, which is going to be a mess. The Kingdom of the Rainforest is going to absolutely alter everything. And while that will make them a supreme power in the future, as of right now, it'll make it a nightmare of confusion and absolute disarray. Because you're essentially taking a culture that's existed for hundreds and hundreds of years and eradicating that.
Well,
which
I
is
think they're actually
not
bringing
an
back
easy
the
thing to
culture
do.
that was around for thousands of years, because
Well, yeah,
the
they are
culture-
bringing back
what are
the
you-
previous culture, but the culture that everybody lives now is not that same culture. You have to
That is
destroy
true.
the current culture in order to bring back the new one, which is going to cause a lot of upheaval. And
I don't think it would
especially,
happen
even more so
quickly,
with the
because
fact.
they're doing it.
Oh, absolutely! It's not going to
relatively-
happen quickly, but it is happening,
Right.
which will
I
still
don't think
cause
it's-
upheaval. You're
I
taking
don't-
a society that all day long is napped and whatnot, and within 20 years they're going to be working like actual industrialized jobs, which will alter some aspects of their society to a significant degree.
For the better, I would say probably. But
No, for the better, for absolutely for the
spell you.
better. But the period of change will be hard for the Rainforest Kingdom to accept.
yeah,
Okay,
I mean, so far right now it
uh,
seems to be doing well, but yeah, I don't think it will fall into complete collapse, but there will be backlash. There will be polarization. I mean, there already is polarization. I mean, probably not just between Nightwings and Rainwings, but between Rainwings in support of the DTRP and the Jacarandan policies versus the RPP and Lori's new government. That's definitely going to be another split, and that's I guess once again another.
But I do support the Rainforest. I do think they'll eventually, like say 30, 40 years down the road, become a serious superpower. I think, however, there's going to be at least a decade time span of a lot of uncertainty.
Okay, so I just
which just pulls them down a little
sorry,
bit in my
sorry.
ranking.
I looked up account of Flamboyant's age chart, and Mohan is anywhere from like 25 to 30. That is like in human years, that's her current age at where she is now.
All right, so she is pretty young. So she could
She
definitely
is.
still have
Okay.
Dragonette.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So, but she's like an old late 20s.
Which is not a bad thing, all
not a
things
bad-
considered.
Yeah, because yeah.
Your
So
younger leaders tend to be more in touch with their population, so yeah, that is generally
yeah.
a good thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that the Mudwings with the whole because the Skywings are having a cultural revival, and then I think the Mudwings are actually the most
Mudwings are-
stable. Because they have a relatively young queen.
Yeah.
They have they've
A more
it's
in
seems
touch queen, it seems. Yeah, that's a fair point.
and they always had and it seems like they've always been in a state of stability. Like even they've always been like I think the reason is that they were seen as scary during Darkstalker's time is that because they were way more stable than the other tribes because the Ice Wings and the Night Wings were at war and they were fighting in the Sandwing Kingdom. The Rain Wings were and then the Rain Wings were militarizing, so they were also seen as scary. And then the Sky Wings seem to have just been they seem to have been not doing anything at that time either. And then the Sea Wings had that whole political crisis. So I feel like the reason the Mudwings were seen as scary is because they were not just the most stable, they were also creating a large military. So I think that they've always been the most stable of the tribes. And so, yeah, that is. Yeah.
And they are very militarized. They did also with the Skywings. They did also defeat the Rainwings in a war, which could also, yeah, that really helps them create this image of intimidation and a very strong, stable tribe. Which I think,
Yeah.
the Mudwings and the Skywings have consistently remained stable. Well, and the Icewings. Well, I feel like we don't really know enough, but Mudwings and Skywings have remained pretty, well, more or less consistently stable.
Powerful.
For a brief period, the Skywings weren't because of the whole Scarlet coup, but apart from that, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The Mudwings, I think, probably have the Mudwings also had a succession crisis, but the Mudwings and Skywings have a pretty good track record compared to other kingdoms.
Yeah, and the Mudwing succession crisis seems to have been resolved easily enough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There was no full scale 20-year war. So
yeah, it was just they were just like
they're probably a lot more
scrambling
unified
around
than
trying to
Sandwings.
find the next of kin. Like it doesn't seem like there was any minute reactions.
Also, like I think on many
like-
aspects, probably their geography probably unifies them more than the Sandwings, because like the
Yeah.
Sandwings, they're divided into all these Oasai spread across,
Yeah.
and you're gonna end up with a mixture of basically different mini societies and different autonomous towns, and that's going to result in, when there is division, that's not going to go over that easily with the Mudwings.
Right.
Yeah, and it also seems
pretty
like
united.
and like I feel like whenever they've been in a war, it's had to have like the populace has had to be okay with it because their entire military is made up of the sibling groups, which all are really the sibling groups kill for each other, and this also makes it so that during a war, you're not going to have a bunch of generals doing stupid moves because the chance of their sibling dying in the front lines is going to make it so that they're thinking of what will save the most lives on our side while doing the best. So I feel like the Mudwings have always been in the best state out of any of the kingdoms. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Interesting.
So that was our last topic.
Lovely.
Yeah. So
Very productive.
yeah. I don't know how to do the outro.
Furion, you want to start the intro?
You just
All right. Well, first of all, thank you for having me on. This was really fun.
Of course.
And definitely subscribe to 80K Theory. Very underrated. If anyone is watching this,
thanks.
subscribe. If anyone's
Of
coming
course,
from my
thank
channel,
you. Thank you. And everyone here
Definitely.
subscribe to Furion Nerd. He needs the love.
and you guys deserve a lot more support too. Like, you guys should be at like at least 100 subs. Like,
yeah, that is
underrated.
the goal.
That's the goal. By the end of the year, we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
You guys want to finish the outro?
Yeah, we'll head out. All right. Thank you so much, Furion, for being on our podcast, and we will see y'all next time.
on
80.
80K Theory, Talonmarks and Inkstains. Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Adios, mates.